Okay, we're going to talk about inward opening doors and talk about the tactics associated. We have three primary ways we can attack an inward opening door, and RJ is going to demonstrate those, and then we'll actually go into the force, but we'll start with demonstrating the three.
So our three types that we commonly use in the fire service is our adze method, where the mission is to drive the adze in between the actual door and the actual stop of the door. The fork method, where we're trying to steer the inside of the forks in between the actual door and the frame. And our last method, the baseball bat swing, which we're actually swinging the pike of the Halligan across the door and into the actual jam, and we're rotating the bar off of the pike, and the adze is rotating into the door.
Yeah, I've actually had an incident where we had really good success with the baseball bat swing. We had a fire on 10 Brook Avenue when I was at 16. Went out as an automatic home fire alarm, and as always, we were fully geared up, ready to roll, even though it was a single engine response. We pulled into the block, had a working fire, and my driver actually came up behind us as we were masking up and getting the line ready. Baseball swung into the jam, pushed down, beautiful effective force, one hit, one try, one swing, and one force, and it was a great technique. It's something that's not used all the time. Again, practice makes perfect. This is something you've practiced on. You know it's a residential door, wood on wood. You know you're going to have some success. Obviously, if you have a metal frame, a metal jam, you're not going to have any success with that. But if you have that nice wooden frame and outward jam, swing right into it. Gives you that purchase with the pike of the Halligan bar, and allows you to force downward using your adze as the primary force into the door, taking the lock.
One thing that we have to be very careful of when we use the baseball bat swing as a technique is the safety that involves using it. One of the biggest things we need to be careful of is when we're doing this technique, we're actually swinging the Halligan in a full swing motion around to the door. So we want to be careful as we're moving the bar around. The other thing is, sometimes to our disadvantage is the space that we have to do that. When you have multiple people in this space, full PPE, SCBA, and engine crew, our space becomes very limited. So swinging this tool around in a full swing motion, now we're putting other people in danger.
All right, we're going to do inward opening doors here using the adze method, and I want you to think about the acronym CHF, okay? Create the gap, hold the gap, and then force. And you'll see RJ go through these methods using the adze right now. He's going to create it. He's going to go down, and he's going to use his axe. You can use your axe, a wedge, whatever, to hold it. The two primary methods are using either if you carry an aluminum wedge or a wooden wedge, using those, or you can use your axe, and you're going to use that to hold the gap that you've created. So there we've got a nice hold, little tappy tappy. And that allows him to get the rest of the adze into the door to finish the force. And again, with inward opening, as soon as you get that door open and you come around, using the adze method, flip the adze around and grab the door. Again, think about controlling, you don't know what's behind there. Fire, again, a guard dog, somebody with a weapon waiting for you. And also, if you're waiting for the line to get in place, you want to hold it because we don't want to create that flow path when we don't have water on the fire, okay?
One of the things that we want to be very careful about, statistically, we do have stats that show that some of our victims are found behind the doors. So one of the things we want to be very careful of if we're using the flathead axe as our hold is to make sure we retrieve it back so we don't let it come dropping in on the back side of the door if there was a victim that would be behind the door.
Again, inward swinging door, talking about the adze approach, and instead of using the axe to hold your force, okay, that's CHF, create the gap, hold it. We're going to hold it with a wedge, whether you carry a wooden wedge or an aluminum wedge. Both of those work pretty well. Now notice how making that hole with the wedge or the axe, whichever one you prefer, allows you to reapproach the door with your adze and get your adze all the way in to complete the force, okay? Otherwise, the problem with not doing that is you don't do that and you're not all the way in, you're just up against the back of the jam, your adze tends to pop, okay? So, and that can be embarrassing. You're sitting there, your adze pops. If you don't actually take the time to create enough gap to hold and then reposition your tool, you're going to look like a fool.
So our next method that we're going to do is our fork method. But before we jump right into it, I wanted to take a minute just to go over some orientation of hands and the actual tools themselves. This person who has the Halligan, his main responsibility is to steer that Halligan around the actual door in the frame. His eyes are always 100% watching the forks and making sure that they go where they need to be. This guy, his responsibility is to make sure that he delivers a nice solid blow to the top of the adze. His only responsibility is to deliver the hits when they're called. In Forcible entry, we work off of 3 commands: hit, drive, and stop. When the bar person calls for the hit, this person is going to take the axe, tap it to make sure he's in the right place, bring the axe all the way back, and deliver a nice solid blow all the way in line with the shaft of the Halligan. It's very important that this guy, his hands are in the position where his one right hand is coming over the top and his left hand is coming up from the bottom. The reason why we do that is because if this guy were to miss the actual top of the adze, his wrist would be protected. This person shouldn't miss if his orientation of the tool is always straight up and down. It's no secret, the sweet spot of the tool is right here. So this is where we want to hit every single time. Now, making sure that this axe is straight up and down, and as we come back in line, helps us to deliver that nice solid blow, sending energy right down the shaft. If for some reason this person is to lay up a little short and miss, well then the handle of the axe would actually hit the actual adze of the bar, and we don't hit this member here. That's the most important part of these two guys working together. For each time that this person calls for the hit, he's slowly steering this tool around the frame. He's watching the forks as they go in, and this member is moving along with him. If we do this correctly, they should start on an angle and then should end in line with each other, right with the door frame. And now we're going to show you the 2-person fork method working together in real time. Ready? Hit, 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 drive, stop, ready, capture, coming over the top. So, as you guys can see, it's pretty important that we learn to work with each other understand who's gonna do what, how we're gonna move and dance around each other when we're at the door, where my tool's going, where his tool is going, how I'm moving. When we get to the part where we're forcing the door, it's important for him to know that I'm either gonna come over his head or I need to get him a little bit lower so that I can bring this tool over him and clear it. Making sure we control the door. When we force that door, there's gonna be a lot of momentum. That door is gonna do one of a couple things when it flies open. It's either gonna fly back, hit the wall, come back and relatch, and I've had that happen in my career. The other thing is the door can fly open and the doorknob gets stuck into the drywall on the other side. And now we are both in a crapshoot with no protection. So just making sure we understand who's gonna actually control the door so that we're both protected once we get the door. Again, all of these little things that we've talked about through this episode are all just different things that we wanna make sure that we practice, we wanna consistently cover, and make sure that we understand how to work amongst each other in our own shifts or duty nights or whatever.
Yeah, so remember while you're out there on the EMS runs, gas leaks, fire alarms, that kind of stuff where you may not be forcing doors. Well, you know, we go in and we look at smoke detectors, we look at egress and that kind of stuff. Give a lap around a building, look what's in the rear. Look at your forcible entry challenges. You know, do you have window bars on the first floor? In the rear, is there a in the rear, do you have an outward opening door that's really fortified that you might have to get through? Think about how you're going to get through it. Go inside and look at the inside of the door. You know, you can pre-plan this stuff like we pre-plan everything else on the job, okay? As far as practice goes, I know not every firehouse has a forcible entry prop. Work through your battalion chief. They can get you lined up with somebody that does have one. We even had forcible entry props moved from stations that have them to stations that don't for a period of time, so those folks can get that extra practice. Don't hesitate to reach out and try to work something out, you know, certainly at the company level and through your battalion chief at the battalion level.